The NCAA has a new president, and there are three things that Charlie Baker needs to focus on, and let's talk about them. Baker replaces Mark Emmert, a University of Washington alum that spent 13 years setting money on fire and ineffectively fighting the cultural tide. And I'm not saying that being a University of Washington alum is the reason why Mark Emmert was a terrible president. I'm just saying that he went to the University of Washington and so happened to be a terrible president. And we don't need to relitigate his sins, but at this point, we need solutions. And is Charlie Baker willing to meet the moment, or will he be another empty suit whose presence you only notice when he's getting in the way of common sense progress? Only time will tell. But for right now, let's get into the three things that Baker needs to make a top priority right out of the gate. First, Charlie Baker needs to work with the major conference presidents to stabilize them. The Pac-12 is on the brink of collapse, the ACC is headed for major defections, and the Big 12 seems to be egging everybody on for their demise just to paint itself as comparatively stable, when in reality, they just lost their two biggest draws in Texas and Oklahoma. And then you have an escalating arms race between the SEC and the Big Ten that is being egged on by the television network partners. Now, Baker isn't going to be able to rein in the cancerous grow or die mindset that's fueling these divisions, but he certainly should have to be able to pull the conference commissioners together to outline a Marvel-style multi-phase vision for the future of the NCAA. The group needs common goals to work toward together, or of course they will always default back to their own self-interest. But at least they'll be expending some of their energy on common goals as well. Second, the transfer portal is an absolute hot mess, and Baker needs to institute some emergency measures to help figure it out. There are and have been common sense solutions that have been floated ever since it was evident that the transfer portal was turning into a kitchen junk drawer where things go in but never come out. And it's time to explore putting those solutions in place. They had a good start with allowing teams to go above the 25 scholarship limit for this class, but they can and should do more. Just this week, Oklahoma State's Mike Gundy, see, this is a prime example. Don't cancel out a message just because you don't always like the messenger. He floated out an idea that high school athletes signing time-specific contracts. And I was like, wait, hold up. Does this make sense? And it actually does. So a five-star recruit could have the ability to come in and sign a 1-year deal if he wants to, a 3-year or a 4-year deal if he wants to, while a 3-star guy can sign a 4-year deal if he wants to, that would give him security and give him the ability to know that even if the coaching staff changes or that current coaching staff wants to push him out, he doesn't have to. And other athlete-friendly solutions include ditching signing day so that an athlete can sign with a school whenever they are ready, instead of feeling pressure to fill in a spot at a school that might not be the best fit for them based upon an arbitrary deadline. This would end the ridiculous practice of uncommittable offers. The NCAA also has the ability to institute and allow a longevity stipend that would monetarily reward players for spending 3 to 4 years at one place and earning a degree. The third thing, though, that Charlie Baker needs to get figured out is a national plan for name, image, and likeness guidelines that allow players to capitalize on themselves the same way that the schools capitalize on them. It's not Charlie Baker's fault, though, that the NCAA and Mark Emmert spent $100 million of trying to block NIL instead of shape it. But this is his problem now. And yes, I get that Baker is beholden to the institutions themselves, but not necessarily the athletes. But those things don't have to be in opposition. They both need each other. If schools are worried about losing corporate sponsorship dollars directly to athletes, get the schools on board with directing 10% of any program sponsorship dollar directly to an NIL fund that pays out evenly to all members of that sport. If schools are worried about different states having different laws, work with a coalition of people that represent the interests of all parties involved to hand over completed legislation, not ideas, to the representative of your choice to sponsor. And don't let an 82-year-old senator that longs for the days of leather helmets and underhanded free throws write a bill. Charlie Baker has a lot on his plate, but as long as he stays sharp on protecting student welfare and the athletes so that they never have another Larry Nassar or Jerry Sandusky harming people over a prolonged period of time, the actual thing he needs to accomplish to be considered a success are fairly simple. Stabilize the major conferences, address the issues that have caused the transfer portal traffic jam, guide the country's NIL strategy in a way that's mutually beneficial for athletes and schools. And if Charlie Baker can do those three things, he'll be as good as Mark Emmert was bad. Let that sink in.